Awesome. And I can see some names on the live stream. All right. Well, I'll try to go a little slow. It sounds like there is like just a little bit of delay. And I think this is meant to be kind of a tag team too, with Kyle and folks jumping in. But what I wanted to go over today was you saw and heard another member from our team, Nate McCurby, present yesterday. And near the end, he talked a little bit about Splunk and what we did in collaboration with Provide. And that ultimately resulted in this dashboard along with a couple other things. So today I just want to show you how did we create this, what's behind the scenes, and why it was just really cool to collaborate with Provide on this. So just a little bit about me. There is, gosh, I don't know, it's been 7-8 years now at Splunk, and really just for me, I'm a data junkie. I've done a lot of different positions, but at the end of the day, I just like trying to make it usable and accessible and appealing to everybody. So this was just a really fun and great experience to do this with Provide. And again, Nate brought this slide up yesterday. And so I'm going to bring this to life, really. You know, we're saying that, hey, it's important to bring logs, metrics, traces, and even the ledger data all together. So what does that look like in Splunk, and how do those pieces come together to build that dashboard that we saw? So, you know, Kyle, feel free to stop me, but I'll just spend about, I don't know, 8 to 10 minutes demoing how that dashboard was built, and hopefully it just spurs some great questions from the group. So this is Provide's instance right now. It's where they have a lot of their data coming in, both from a metrics and a logs perspective. And it's pretty cool to see that, you know, if I were just to turn this on in a 1-minute real-time window, right? This is production, and there's, I mean, just at any given time, you know, the number of events or logs changes, but right now it looks like we're getting about 72,000 per minute. And when we first logged into this and started collaborating with them, it was all about trying to figure out what's where, what's important, what helps Splunk and Provide be able to figure out, you know, what's important to look at. How can we help them troubleshoot better? What do we need to alert on? Because it's a complex system, right? And that's what almost all blockchain platforms are now. There's just a lot of components to it, and what can we do to help keep it up? So it's just, I like to start with the raw data before you show the eye candy, because it really all comes down to this first, and searching for errors and doing a count on those errors, and figuring out, you know, again, what's important to look at first, and from what hosts and so on. One of the other types of data that was coming in was just you know, metric data, so it looks a little cleaner than what you just saw on that syslog, right? But this is all applicable as well. Just how are the containers doing? Just basic things like CPU, memory. You know, that's important. Being able to load on that, and you know, we want to take this stuff into account as well. But being able to correlate this between our logs is where the true value starts happening. Some more interesting data, though, is if we started looking at what's embedded in some of the more complex events and logs that's coming in from the Provide stack, we see all sorts of crazy stuff. Not necessarily the most pretty either, right? Right now I'm just showing you what things look like before we clean them up a little bit. Now you can always improve ingestion or try to fix some JSON when it comes into Splunk. But one of the nice things is being able to also fix stuff on the fly or at search time. And so that's what you're seeing here, because sometimes data doesn't play nicely with you. And it's hard to extract value out of some messy looking data here. But after figuring out just a couple ways to clean it up, then it comes in as pretty, or a much prettier set of JSON, for example. And now we can start doing some analytics around these things. So here we're seeing actual transactions through provide, and we can start picking out little by little what's important to us, like what kind of events these are. And it was really fun because we started with this not knowing as much around provide as the provide team, of course. But as they started asking us questions, we were able to come in here and start searching for the things that they would care about. So little by little, it was okay. Now I can start pulling out the chain IDs. I can see that there's some different fields in here that are important to them. When we need to start calculating the values and the amounts going through all this, it's all in here. We just needed to figure out how to extract that out before we could do any set of analytics. One of the first dashboards that we then started creating from all that raw data you just saw was very basic container monitoring, just making sure, again, you know, if we're getting some of those CloudWatch metrics and we're combining that with our syslog, can we correlate them together just to figure out, you know, what kind of errors might be having, what containers are about to go down or could be having issues. Actually, it's kind of interesting to see this blank here. I think that was actually just the feed going down at the moment there. Something you'd want to alert on as well, right? But from here, they could start picking out and filtering on keywords or errors from each container without having to, or each component of their stack without having to necessarily be in that raw search interface. And maybe if there was something very specific, they could zoom in on that particular time and, you know, again, look for what that container or error was. This is just all where it started, you know, and this was more of that system level information, but where it got really fun was also looking again, like what's that business level or that, you know, what's actually going through provide from a transaction perspective. And so once we started pulling out that information and extracting it out, and this is very early on, so we have so many more fun questions that we're going to get to ask, but we haven't got there yet. So I can't wait to continue to work with these guys and figure out, you know, what is the most important things that we can look at and might want to alert on or do some analytics on, or even get to some machine learning. You know, that'll be the fun part. But step one is getting it in, extracting it, trying to make some sense of it, and put it into these dashboards. Now, the really fun one was inspired by getting all this data in one place, getting it into Splunk, taking a look at you know, Provide's and their team's website, and hey, what does this architecture look like? One of the coolest things is if you can blend enterprise architecture with, like, you imagine Visio going live, right? And being able to apply any real-time search or alerting capability to this. So they gave, we worked together. Provide has their architecture, you know, how their stack looks, and you can see this is an early on sketch of what it started looking like when we built it out. You know, it didn't just appear as you saw in that screenshot or what you saw from Nate the other day. So I thought it's always good to show that, you know, it does have to start somewhere, and sometimes it does start ugly. But what it turned into is that final dashboard, which is, I don't know, I like to call it kind of a live infographic. So imagine taking, you know, the components that are meaningful to Provide and what's going through the system. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. Hopefully not too hard to see. Maybe I'll zoom back in. But some of the most important things was going back to that container monitoring dashboard when I see a certain, or when they see a certain amount of errors pop up here. When they were doing testing, obviously you could see this move around a lot, and it was hopefully nice to have one place to figure out, where do I need to look first? What should I alert on first? Am I even getting the data in correctly? And then there's just a ton more metrics that are now more applicable to provide and baseline in general. And all this is extractable out of those logs. Oftentimes we look at, there's so many events going through there, but there's a lot of hidden treasure in there once you can figure out what's in there. So to show you, this isn't fake by any means. This is all running, and each one of these searches runs where we actually stagger the time at which they refresh, because if we did all of this in real time, that's not the most efficient thing, right? So a lot of these update every 3 seconds or every 17 seconds. But all the searches that we saw in that raw, when can I drill down into each of these? So they would go to the applicable dashboard or search that gives me more information about these. So can't wait for, and then I guess the last thing to mention is, down here you're seeing, it's pretty cool. There's testing going on, provides testing with the other test nets, but also what's happening on mainnet. And with, Nate mentioned this yesterday, Splunk Connect for Ethereum, or however you get that ledger data in. It's just awesome to answer those questions, those more complex questions, when you want to. So that's about all I've got. I think it's, like I said, this has been super fun to work with these guys, and can't wait to, we're just getting started, so there's so much more to do. And I saw a question on the live stream. Will dashboard show volume available publicly?
Steve, it's been
I
really
don't
fun.
see why we couldn't make some of a more public dashboard soon. So today this resides, just with Provide. One of the nice things is there is something we call, at Splunk at least, we call it a dashboard publisher. And so, for example, if I go to this website, another little infographic, but also a live dashboard, this is actually published now. So there is no logging into a Splunk instance to get access to this. So I can foresee creating some awesome public dashboards that do just that, Matt. So great question. I think as we figure out what the metrics are to calculate and answer those questions, then we'll be able to create something that could be publicly accessible. Let Kyle or speak and see if there's any questions. Happy to answer, but hopefully you all found that useful.